should the Chiefs be scared of the AFC West? Now, before we get into the video, please consider liking and subscribing, and let's just jump right into the video. Now, I think it's a very valid question to ask if the Kansas City Chiefs should be scared of the AFC West. You look at every move that the AFC West has made this past offseason, you can tell that these teams want to go all out and that they're sick and tired of losing to the Chiefs in the division. The Chiefs have won the division 6 years in a row, and the poor Broncos, which I'm very thrilled to say, have lost 13 straight times to the Chiefs. So you know that the Broncos are sick and tired of losing to the Chiefs. And since Mahomes became the starting quarterback of the Chiefs, he's 18-4 as a starter against the division in Kansas City. So the AFC West as a whole are definitely sick and tired of losing to the Chiefs. But for the Chiefs to be scared of the AFC West, I think that's a little bit of an overreaction. But concerned, that is definitely a valid point for people to have with the Chiefs towards the AFC West. I definitely think the Chiefs should at least be concerned with the moves that the AFC West have been making. And it's mainly concerning not really because of the talent that the AFC West have been adding, because the AFC West is adding loads and loads of talent that are definitely elevating them and definitely help them catch up with the Chiefs after all these years of losing to them. It's concerning for how quiet I think the Chiefs have been during this entire free agency period and really the entire offseason. The two biggest moves that the Chiefs have made this entire offseason was signing Justin Reid and restructuring Frank Clark's contract. Other than that, the Chiefs really haven't been making any of the big time moves that I personally was kind of expecting the Chiefs to do. Knowing Brett Veach and how aggressive he is, I kind of expected him to make some home run hits and try to make some massive moves and make a massive impact in the division. And those moves really haven't necessarily happened yet with the Chiefs. Because and not only have they not been making really any big moves, they've also had some losses that I think are going to have some very unpleasant impact to the Chiefs in the future. Let's look at the defensive side of the ball first. They lost Charvarius Ward, which I think is going to be a massive hole that they're going to have to fill. They were able to fill the hole of Tyrann Mathieu with Justin Reid. Now, Justin Reid is no Tyrann Mathieu, but Justin Reid is a very, very talented safety that at least it has the talent enough to be a great safety, but you'll never be able to replace Tyrann Mathieu. But losing Charvarius Ward adds another hole to this Chiefs secondary, because Rashad Fenton and L'Jarius Sneed are two guys now that are definitely going to have to step up and make some big plays coming up this next season. Now, Charvarius Ward, he earned his money. The Chiefs were never going to pay that much money for Charvarius Ward. His impact on the field can't be stated enough how great it was. And you look what he's did all of last season, showing that he can be a number one corner on any team that he is on, and he definitely earned that. So San Francisco definitely got a huge signing with Charvarius Ward. And then on the offense, the Chiefs lost Byron Pringle to the Bears, and losing Byron Pringle is definitely going to hurt the depth at wide receiver position for the Chiefs. Yes, they still have Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill, where Tyreek Hill is obviously still looking for that long-term extension and kind of wanting to make up for the money that he lost a few years ago whenever he was going through his issues. But that duo, as dominant as they are, they literally can't do everything. The Chiefs desperately need depth at wide receiver position. I love Mecole Hartman. I think he played his best football down the stretch late last year, and he showed that he really belonged in this offense with everybody else that's there. But him at wide receiver 2 is not an ideal situation with a team that literally has no depth at the wide receiver position at all right now. Now, they could still get Jarvis Landry or Juju, which, I mean, anything would be great at this point, because zero depth in this division is not the place you want to go, because Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, teams will just constantly double team those two to oblivion. And it kind of showed last year that the Chiefs can struggle on offense at times when teams are just constantly double teaming those two. They had a long stretch last year where they really, really struggled against teams because they were just taking out those two best players, and the lack of depth kind of showed last year. So the Chiefs desperately need depth at wide receiver position. Yes, they were able to break out of that and they had a great playoff run, but you can't expect through a 17-game season, the playoffs, you can't expect those two guys to be the only two making plays every single game. So they need depth at the wide receiver position, and they already lost out on Allen Robinson and Christian Kirk. Now, I don't know how likely it was that those two would have been added to the team, but just knowing that there's wide receivers going off the market and the Chiefs haven't signed anybody, it is getting a little bit concerning that the Chiefs aren't going to get a big name free agent at the wide receiver position. But if they aren't going to get anybody at the wide receiver position, I think going big on a big name talent on defense is definitely the best way for the Chiefs to go, because of how deep this wide receiver pool is in the draft. I think they'll be able to draft a wide receiver. I really do think that. I think they still need to try to go big in free agency with a well-known defensive pass rusher, because they desperately need that. The Frank Clark restructure was a great start for the Chiefs, but they still haven't improved at the position. Now, Frank Clark's contract looks much better now than what it did, because for 4.5 sacks and what he was about to make did not look good. It would have put the Chiefs in a very bad situation had he stayed on that contract. So Frank Clark took a big time hometown discount, it looks like, to stay with the Chiefs, but also free up some money. But again, they still haven't improved at that position. They lost on Chandler Jones, Von Miller, Emmanuel Ogbah, Hassan Reddick. Now, Emmanuel Ogbah was the one guy I really thought could come back to Kansas City, I should say, and improve that defensive line that desperately needs to help out Chris Jones, because the Chiefs were one of the worst teams in total sacks last year, and they were getting no pressure. Chris Jones can't do everything, so the Chiefs need help still on that defensive line. Now, there is guys like Zadarius Smith that are still out there, so hopefully they can make an impact move and get somebody like him. That would be very awesome, because he backed out of the Ravens deal. That would be awesome if the Chiefs could get somebody like him, but I'm not going to hold my breath. But you also have to remember, we have Brett Veach as our GM. He'll find talent. He found Willie Gay. He found L'Jarius Sneed late in rounds. So he has that ability to find late round talent. But I think that late round talent, that draft talent, I think it's really only going to help the offense. I think the Chiefs on offense can draft a wide receiver and it'll be fine. I don't think they can get away with drafting a pass rusher. I don't think they can get away with improving that defensive line through the draft. Now, corner and wide receiver, I think they can improve through the draft. But if you look at the defensive line, that cannot be improved through the draft. That one is a position that I think they have to go big and make a big time move. Because you look at what everybody in the AFC West is doing. You have the Chargers. They extended Mike Williams, added Khalil Mack. They have J.C. Jackson. Their pass rush is amazing now. You have Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa going to be going after Patrick Mahomes twice a year. You have the Broncos, who they got Russell Wilson, who were a quarterback away all of last season, and they got that quarterback. They got Randy Gregory from the Cowboys, so now they have Randy Gregory and Bradley Chubb going after Mahomes twice a year. The Raiders, they went big. They got Devontae Adams, Chandler Jones. They extended Max Crosby. They were able to get Josh McDaniels as their head coach, and you'll have Max Crosby and Chandler Jones going after Patrick Mahomes twice a year, while the Chiefs have Frank Clark and Chris Jones. Now, Chris Jones isn't the problem. It's Frank Clark's lack of production when, in 2019, he made an impact in the Chiefs playoff run. So we know Frank Clark has that ability to be great, but he just did not show it at all last year with 4.5 sacks. So the Chiefs do need to be concerned with their lack of moves in free agency and the big moves that the teams like the Chargers adding like J.C. Jackson, the Broncos, Russell Wilson, Raiders, Devontae Adams, all these moves. The Chiefs need to be concerned with the moves that the AFC West is making. But I will say this, Mahomes, ever since he took over the Chiefs have been in the AFC Championship game every single year. He's been the best quarterback in the NFL the last 4 years. And Brett Veach is an absolute magician. So when you think things are bad, when things are down, Brett Veach will rise out of his grave and he'll make an amazing move. So there's still time, but the Chiefs are definitely letting the competition rise up and move up to the level of the Chiefs. Now, I still think the Chiefs are the best team in that division. Yes, the talent pool is definitely raising every other team. That, the AFC West, you can argue, is neck and neck now, where everybody is a good team. But I don't think the Chiefs are falling when it comes to their talents, their abilities. What I think is happening with the Chiefs is they are allowing the competition to raise to their level, and that's not something I really am a huge fan of. these other teams can raise their talent, raise to the level of the Chiefs, but whenever you're doing that, you want the Chiefs to also be able to move up their talent, move up their ability, and help them become an even better team. While these teams are improving, you just want to continue to help your team continue and improve and get better.